Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to use offsets and splines to help you create your 3D printed keychains. Offsets and splines are, really helpful in everything that you do on Inventor. As soon as you learn how to use them effectively and how to use them well, it becomes so much easier for you guys when you're drawing stuff on Inventor. So let me show you one of the things that I think will be very helpful. So right here is a very good example of what it is that I'm trying to get you guys to do. I want you guys to 3D print a really easy, really simple 3D printed keychain that has different heights or different depths. So you have your base layer, and then you have a layer that comes out and above. So this is a really good example of what I'm going to be doing right now on Inventor. So on Inventor, you do have the option of bringing in an image that you can then, bring or that you can then trace off of. It's almost like a stencil. So this image right here, I'm going to go ahead and click on that because this is what I want to make. Okay, so I'm going to right click on whatever image that I want, and I'm going to go to Save Image As. So when I click on Save Image As, make sure that you pay attention to where you're saving it. Right here, as long as you can save it as a JPEG or a PNG, Inventor will open it up. So once you save it, pay attention to where you saved it, and then you can come in to Inventor and you can start a brand new standard IPT. So on Inventor, we're going to be doing this in inches, so make sure that you open up a standard IPT, and we're going to start on the XY plane. So right here, one of the first things that I need you guys to do is understand your constraints, or how big something's going to be. The constraints for this project are that excuse me, the constraints for this project is that your keychain can be no bigger than 2 inches by 3 inches. So make a reference rectangle. So reference rectangle is going to be 3 inches wide by 2 inches tall. So this is as large, or the largest that your keychain can be. So make sure that you have this first before you start drawing anything. So once you have that, we can bring in our image that we found. So go up here to your ribbon, and under Insert, click on Insert Image. So when you open up where you saved it, like I saved my stuff in the downloads, I can go ahead and find my image and bring it in. If you don't find your image here, or you don't see it, then you're going to have to go back to Google and find a different image of what it is that you want to make, and repeat the process of downloading that image. So my image came up, and I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. As you can see, my floating blue rectangle is larger than my reference rectangle. So I'm just going to place it randomly wherever, and then I can click and drag and move it to where I want it. So I just want to make the Earth Kingdom symbol. Okay, so I'm just going to place what I want and make sure that it fits within my constraints. Okay, so this image is just there to help us. It's not for anything in particular. I'm sorry, not the image. The reference rectangle is just there to help us. We aren't going to use this as an extrusion or anything. We're just going to leave it like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish our sketch. So our sketch 1 right here in the browser bar is our reference. Everything's going to be based off of this image, or this sketch. So go ahead and make another sketch, and this is where we are going to start extruding. Okay, so I want to outline my symbol, or for my keychain. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use lines. Okay, And as I do this, I'm going to show you how we are then going to do an offset. Okay, so we're just going to go along these, and I'm just tracing it. I'm not tracing it exactly. I'm just eyeballing it, making sure that I'm sort of good on all of these lines, and then I will show you how we can then, make it look nicer and neater. Okay, so let me go ahead and finish drawing this. Oops, zoom in. And like I said, this is just we're eyeballing it. We're not doing anything more than that. Okay, so I obviously can't leave my corners as 90 degrees, so I'm going to use fillets to make sure that I round these corners. Okay, so fillets just round off the edges, make 90 degrees easier to transition. So I'm just going to go corner by corner and do that. And I know this isn't something that you guys want in as your keychain, but come on. There we go. All right, so once I have that, the next thing I'm going to do is use something called offset. So right here on my ribbon, I'm going to go to this button right here called offset. So what offset does is it takes something that we've drawn. So I have drawn my overall shape, and I'm going to offset it or pattern it and make it smaller or bigger. Okay, in this case, I'm going to make it smaller. Again, we are just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that it is kind of fits within the constraints. So once I have that drawn, I can go ahead and close off my shape. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't close off my shape here. So once I have that, I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to finish my sketch. Okay, this isn't going to be what it looks like overall, but this is a good reference. Okay, so once you have that, the thickest that your keychain can be is 0.25. So if you look at a ruler, that's not very big. That is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm not going to make this part 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to make it 1/8 of an inch, and then I'll add things to the back. Okay, so that is a really good example of offset. Okay, next I'm going to show you how to use splines. Okay, so we are going to make a new sketch. So I'm going to go to new sketch, and I'm going to go right here to my browser bar and expand it and go back to my XY plane. When I go back to the XY plane, I'm drawing on my normal plane as if I was starting a brand new drawing. Okay, so a spline is just a line that we can curve. So yeah, we can make this with arcs or with circles, but a spline is a lot easier to use. Okay, so on the pull down menu under line, you can choose 2 different splines. I think using a control vertex is a lot easier than interpolation. Okay, so but you guys are fine to use whatever you have. Okay, so as long as you start somewhere where you're you just click where you think it's going to go, you're not going to click exactly on the line, you're going to click a little bit off the line, so that as you start to curve around, it follows the path. Okay, we're not clicking directly on the line, we're clicking a little bit away from the line, and it starts to curve. Okay, so, and if this isn't exactly what you want it to look like, you can always grab these these points and you can adjust it. So like this is way too far out there. And I'm just going to make it kind of fit a whole lot better. Okay. So splines work when you have less points. Don't try and put as many points as possible because then you'll just end up really confusing yourself later on. Okay, so that looks pretty good for me. I'm just going to kind of adjust this a little bit more. So once I have that, I can go ahead and offset this. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did work. So I'm going to go ahead and offset it. And then I'm going to edit these points where it ends. Okay, so I can use a line or I can use an arc. It's totally up to you. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and use an arc. And sometimes it does that where it sends something flying off into outer space. And if it does that, don't freak out, just undo and then kind of make something work. So this works for me. I'm going to go to trim and trim away the excess lines that I don't need. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that same process over here. So I'm going to click somewhere on my line and then a little bit of ways and just make sure that it crosses and go to trim and trim these points, and there's my closed off space. Okay, so once you have that, go ahead and finish your sketch and hopefully it selects it, and if it doesn't, well, we just have to see what's going on. Okay, so as you see, it's not selecting it, so I'm going to go ahead and hide sketch 1. So I'm going to right click on sketch 1 and click visibility, so that way all I see is what I just drew. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Inventor automatically saw it. It didn't see that big giant rectangle behind it, and we can say okay. All right, so that is that. But I could totally print this, but this would be not a very good keychain. How would this stay attached to where it is? Not very well. So we need to add a backing to it. Okay, so I'm just going to go to project geometry and project what I have on the outside, and I'm going to offset it. Okay, so that way I end up with something a little bit larger. That looks good. And then I'm just going to close off my shape. So I'm just going to connect this to that, so that way I have a closed shape in here. Finish my sketch and extrude everything that I made. Make sure I want to send it in the opposite direction and subtract, or not subtract, yeah, I want to do it the same amount. Okay, so 1.25 and say okay, but I'm sending it in the opposite direction. I'm going to go ahead and look at that. So there is my keychain. I have a lip or an outer edge or backing, whatever you want to call it, and there is what my keychain would look like. Yes, I know I'm missing stuff right here, but I didn't want to make this video very long. I want it to look like the keychain that I showed you earlier, which was right there. Okay, so I have a little bit left that I need to do to make my keychain look like this, but you guys now know how to do a spline and an offset. If you guys have any questions on what type of logos you can do, let me know. You know, everything's kind of open on this. You can do car logos, TV show logos. You can even, you know, do your name. It's totally up to you. Just ask me if you have absolutely no idea what you want to make, and we can go from there. If you do something really, really simple and you want to make another one, that's totally fine. But just know that you're going to only print one keychain. So make sure that you guys read the constraints of your project and that you understand what you need to do. If you have any questions, just go ahead and let me know, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Okay guys, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.